The world is noisy. Everyone's talking about their plans, their goals, their dreams. But here's the problem. Most never finish what they start. They speak, they leak their energy, and they fail. In this video, we're going to solve that problem. We're going to learn one of Steve Jobs' darkest, most powerful lessons. Until it's done, tell none. Let me tell you something about power. Real power does not come from noise, it comes from silence. People believe that shouting their ideas from rooftops, announcing every little step they take, somehow makes them stronger. But the truth is, every time you speak before you're ready, you give a piece of your power away. Silence is power, because silence protects the fragile, unshaped version of your dream. Jobs paces slowly, his eyes scanning the audience as if he's looking into the soul of each person. Think about it. Every great idea you've ever had, it begins small, delicate, almost invisible. It's not ready to be shown to the world. It's like a seed in the soil. If you dig it up too soon to show everyone, you kill it. That's why I made silence a weapon. At Apple, when we were building something new, we didn't talk about it. Not to the press, not to the public. Sometimes, not even to the people sitting in the same building. Because ideas are fragile in the beginning. They need time. They need darkness to grow. Silence gave them that. He pauses, letting the weight of his words rest in the room. The world is filled with noise. People are constantly talking about what they're going to do. You hear it every day. I'm starting a business. I'm writing a book. I'm building an app. They talk and they talk and they talk. But here's the problem. Most of them never finish. They spend more time explaining their dream than building it. And do you know why? Because talking tricks your brain. Science proves it. When you talk about your goals, you get a rush of satisfaction. The same feeling you get from achieving them. But it's fake. It's premature. You've stolen the reward before you've done the work. That's why silence is power. Silence keeps the hunger alive. Jobs' tone grows sharper, almost confrontational. I lived this truth. In 2001, we were building something that the world had never seen. 1,000 songs in your pocket. The iPod. Do you know how many people knew about it before launch? Almost none. Because we didn't talk. We didn't leak. We didn't brag. We worked in silence, obsessively, endlessly. And then, when it was ready, when the world thought Apple was just a computer company, we revealed it. Silence created shock, and shock created power. He gestures with his hands, pulling the audience closer into the story. Imagine if I had told the world years before, we're making a music player. Imagine the noise, the criticism, the opinions that would have rained down on us. Imagine the competitors rushing to kill the idea before it had a chance to breathe. Silence kept them blind. Silence kept them guessing. Silence gave us the element of surprise. That's power. The power of keeping something so close, so hidden, that when it finally emerges, it feels like a lightning strike out of nowhere. Jobs lowers his voice, almost whispering. People underestimate silence. They think silence means weakness. They think if you're not telling the world, you're not doing anything. But silence is not absence. Silence is presence. Silence is focus. It means every ounce of your energy is being poured into the work, not into talking about the work. And when the work is finally revealed, silence makes it louder than any words ever could. His voice rises again, passionate, cutting. Look around you today. Social media is filled with noise. People announce their plans before they even take the first step. They chase likes, comments, and approval. But here's the truth: applause without action is empty. Every time you tell the world your next move, you give them the power to influence you. You invite doubt, distraction, and envy. You expose your seed to storms before its roots are strong. And most people's dreams die because they let too many voices into the room. He takes a deep breath, his tone turning reflective. That's why I tell you, silence is power. Silence keeps your energy contained. Silence keeps your vision unpolluted. Silence shields you from the weight of other people's doubts. When you speak too soon, you open the door for destruction. But when you hold back, when you build in silence, you give your idea the one thing it needs most: protection. Protection from noise, protection from weakness, protection from failure before it's even begun. Jobs pauses, letting silence itself fill the space, proving his point without words. Every time you open your mouth before the work is done, you lose energy. You may not feel it immediately, but it drains you. And here's the truth. Energy is the most valuable currency you have when you are building something. Without it, no idea survives. That's why I always believed, guard your energy. Protect it. Don't let it leak out through words. Jobs adjusts his posture, leaning slightly forward as if confiding in the audience. When you tell people your plans, you think you're gaining momentum. You think you're creating accountability. But what's actually happening is this. You're releasing the pressure that was driving you. You're letting out steam that should have been powering the engine. Talking gives you a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into believing you've already taken action, when in reality, you've just wasted the energy that was meant to fuel execution. He pauses, walking slowly across the stage, voice firm and deliberate. I've seen it happen countless times. A young entrepreneur, bursting with passion, tells everyone around him about his new project. The excitement in his eyes, the applause from his friends, the validation, it feels good. But what happens next? The fire dims, the urgency fades, the applause replaces the hunger. And instead of building, he spends more time talking. Weeks later, the project is abandoned. Not because he wasn't smart, not because he didn't have the resources, but because he leaked all his energy through words. Jobs raises a hand, almost like he's drawing a line in the air. That never happened at Apple. We built under extreme secrecy for a reason. Energy had to be contained, concentrated. Every ounce of it had to go into the work. When we designed the first iPhone, did you think we were running around telling people what was coming? No, we were silent. We were obsessed. We poured every drop of energy into the product itself. That's why it exploded onto the market like a force of nature. Because we didn't leak. We didn't waste. We didn't speak. His voice deepens, becoming sharper, darker. Energy is fragile. Think of it like water in a bucket. Every time you tell someone your plans, it's like poking a hole in that bucket. A little here, a little there, it drips away. And by the time you're ready to execute, the bucket is empty. No momentum, no drive, just a dry echo of the excitement you once had. That's what happens when you leak energy through words. Jobs stops pacing, anchoring himself in the center of the stage, his hands clasped together. Now, let me tell you why silence keeps you strong. When you hold back, when you resist the temptation to announce your every move, the energy builds inside you. It becomes pressure, fuel, fire. That's why when you finally release it through action, through results, it's unstoppable. The iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, they all came from years of silence, years of holding energy inside the walls of Apple. And when that energy was finally unleashed, it changed industries. That's the difference between those who leak and those who hold. He lowers his voice, slowing his words as if carving them into stone. Most people will never understand this. They believe in the illusion of accountability. They think telling the world will make them more committed. But the opposite is true. Telling the world makes you weaker. Because now, instead of being driven by your hunger, you're being watched by their judgment. You've given them a piece of your energy. You've handed over the fire that was supposed to burn only for you. Jobs lets the silence stretch for a few seconds, then continues with intensity. I never wanted applause before the work was done. Applause before execution is poison. It feels sweet in the moment, but it kills the discipline you need to finish. That's why at Apple, we worked in silence until the very last second. Until the product was ready to speak for itself. There was nothing to say. And when it did speak, when it finally appeared on stage, the applause was real. The energy was authentic. Because it came after creation, not before. His tone grows commanding, almost warning. If you want to build something great, you cannot afford to waste your energy in conversations that give you nothing. Protect your bucket. Protect your fire. Every time you feel the urge to announce your plans, remember this: you're not gaining power. You're leaking it. Keep it inside. Let it build. Let it push you, haunt you, drive you. And then when the work is complete, when the idea is fully alive, release it in one unstoppable wave. Power is not just about building something extraordinary. Power is about how you reveal it to the world. And that's where the element of surprise becomes a weapon. Surprise is not accidental. Surprise is designed. Surprise is the art of silence exploding into sound. It's the moment when people least expect you, and suddenly, you are undeniable. That's the surprise effect. And I used it over and over again. Jobs steps forward. His eyes locked with the audience, his tone both calm and electrifying. Most people don't understand this. They believe progress should be announced step by step. They post updates. They give hints. They leak details. But by doing that, they kill the very magic that could have made their work unforgettable. If people know everything before it arrives, then by the time it shows up, it feels old, it feels predictable, it feels ordinary. There's no shock, no awe, no breath stolen from their lungs. That is why I learned to guard the element of surprise. Because surprise creates power. Surprise captures attention in a world drowning in noise. He pauses, letting the silence hang in the room. Think back to 2007. The world thought it knew Apple, a computer company, a player in music because of the iPod, yes, but nothing more. And then came a single word: iPhone. No leaks, no previews, no step-by-step updates. Just a stage, a screen, and a moment that changed history. You could feel it in the room that day. The gasps, the applause, the disbelief. That wasn't just a product launch. It was a shockwave. And that shockwave came from silence, from the refusal to reveal too soon, from the discipline to let the surprise build in secret until it was unstoppable. Jobs' voice sharpens, his pacing measured like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Surprise disarms your competitors. When they don't see you coming, they can't prepare, they can't react, they can't defend. That's why Apple's launches hit so hard. By the time the world saw what we had built, it was too late for anyone to catch up. They were always reacting, never leading. That's the advantage of surprise. It doesn't just win attention, it wins time. And time is the greatest advantage in business, in art, in life. He lowers his voice, almost whispering, forcing the audience to lean in. But surprise does something else, something even more powerful. Surprise makes people feel. It creates a moment of wonder. It's the gasp in the crowd, the shiver down the spine, the sudden realization that something impossible just became real. That feeling is unforgettable. People don't just remember what they saw. They remember how they felt when they saw it. And feelings are more powerful than facts. Feelings are what move people to action, to loyalty, to belief. That is why surprise is one of the greatest tools you can ever use. Jobs straightens, his tone now cutting, deliberate. Most people ruin their own surprise. They leak their own story because they can't stay silent. They want validation too soon. They want recognition before it's earned. But here's the truth: when you give people a preview, you steal the moment of impact from yourself. You trade shock for a slow drip of attention, and that is weak. That is ordinary. That is forgettable. Power belongs to the one who waits, to the one who holds, to the one who strikes only when the stage is set and the silence is deepest. He takes a breath, then delivers his words with the weight of certainty. The surprise effect is not just strategy, it's psychology. The human brain craves novelty. It craves the unexpected. And when you give it what it craves, it doesn't just notice. You become unforgettable. Apple's greatest moments were not just about technology. They were about timing. They were about the shock of the impossible being revealed at the perfect moment. That's why when we unveiled the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, the world didn't just watch. They remembered. Surprise is what burns the memory into their minds forever. Jobs' voice grows darker, more commanding, as if issuing a challenge. If you want to build something that lasts, stop leaking your own thunder. Stop handing away your power for scraps of attention. Learn the discipline of silence, the patience of secrecy, the art of timing. Build in the shadows. Work where no one can see you. And then, when the moment is right, strike with the force of surprise. Because when you do, the world won't just listen. They won't forget. That is the power of the surprise effect. Words are cheap. They are everywhere. Anyone can say they're going to change the world, but very few actually do. That's why I lived by a principle that became one of my darkest lessons. Let your work speak, not your mouth. Because in the end, talk doesn't build companies. Talk doesn't invent products. Talk doesn't move culture forward. Work does. Results do. Execution does. Jobs stand still. His black turtleneck presence amplifying every word as the audience feels the weight of silence between each phrase. The world is addicted to talking. Everywhere you go, people are bragging about what they're going to do, what they're planning, what they're dreaming. But here's the truth, most of those dreams never survive. They die in the noise, suffocated under promises that were never backed by action. I refuse to live that way. At Apple, we had one philosophy: shut up and build. Don't tell the world what's coming. Show them. Don't announce your greatness. Prove it. Because the moment your work is real, it doesn't need words to explain it. It speaks for itself louder than anything you could ever say. He takes a slow step forward, lowering his voice, drawing everyone in. When we created the Macintosh, we didn't go around telling people, we're about to change personal computing. No, we built in silence. And when it arrived, it wasn't just another computer, it was a revolution. The design, the interface, the soul of it. People felt it instantly. We didn't need to convince anyone with words. The work spoke. The work made believers out of skeptics. That's what happens when you stop talking and start doing. The work becomes the message. Jobs sharpens his tone, raising a hand as if cutting through the air. Do you know why people doubt you when you talk too much? Because words are easy. Anyone can say them. But the moment your work appears, there's no room for doubt. It's real. It's undeniable. I saw it every time we launched something at Apple. The critics could argue, the analysts could speculate, the competitors could laugh. But once the work was revealed, silence fell over the noise. Because the work didn't need a defense. It was its own proof. It was its own argument. And no words could compete with it. His pacing grows deliberate, his voice carrying an edge of warning. Talking about your dreams makes you weak. Because while you're busy telling the world how great you're going to be, someone else is working in silence, preparing to prove it. By the time you're done speaking, they're done building. And when their work arrives, your words vanish. That's why I never believed in announcements for validation. I believed in execution for domination. Let your work do the talking. Because the world listens louder when you say nothing until you show everything. He stops, a brief silence filling the stage, then continues with fire in his tone. The iPhone is the perfect example. Before 2007, phones were boring. Plastic keyboards, clunky screens, a sea of sameness. We didn't say, "We're going to revolutionize the phone." We said nothing. And then one day, I stood on a stage, pulled a device out of my pocket, and the world gasped. Not because of my words, but because of the work. Because the work was alive. The work was undeniable. And that's the difference between talking about greatness and actually being great. His voice grows quieter, slower, almost intimate. Here's the reality. When you let your work speak, you don't need to argue. You don't need to beg for attention. You don't need to convince anyone. The work does it all for you. And it does it better than you ever could. Words fade. Opinions fade. But results remain. The product remains. The impact remains. That's why silence plus execution is so much more powerful than noise plus intention. Because when the work finally arrives, it silences every critic, every skeptic, every doubter. Jobs straightens, his tone sharp again, pressing into the minds of the audience. The temptation will always be there. The temptation to announce, to explain, to show the world your plans before they're real. Don't give in to it. Protect your work. Build it in silence. Let every ounce of your energy go into the creation, not the conversation. And when it's ready, unleash it. Let the shock, the awe, the undeniable reality of it say everything that words never could. Because when your work speaks, it doesn't whisper. It doesn't beg. It commands. And the world has no choice but to listen. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a strategy. It is power. When you learn to hold back, when you learn to protect your vision, you stop wasting energy and you start building momentum. Because every word you don't speak, every detail you don't reveal, becomes fuel for execution. That is how you guard your dream against the noise of the world. Jobs' voice grows sharper, steadier, almost commanding. Remember this, energy is finite. Every time you speak too soon, every time you leak your plans, you weaken yourself. But when you hold it in, when you keep it close, that energy builds into something unstoppable. And when the moment arrives, when the curtain finally lifts, surprise becomes your weapon. The world doesn't just notice you, they are shaken by you. They remember you because you didn't trickle your story out piece by piece. You unleashed it in one unforgettable strike. He pauses, his black turtleneck presence towering in silence, then continues with piercing clarity. And when that moment comes, you don't need to speak much at all, because the work speaks, the product speaks, the execution speaks. People don't remember what you promised. They remember what you delivered. That is the lesson I want you to carry. Until it's done, tell none. Protect your vision, guard your energy, master the element of surprise, and let your work speak louder than your mouth ever could.